Now, there is, I suspect, a very special Hitchens archive somewhere out there in some corner of YouTube, so let me know if you find it, will you?
Not so that men may wear the chain without consolation, but so that they may break the chain and cull the living flower. So what Marx is saying is, of course it's a consolation, and it arises from a deep spiritual hunger, but it's false consolation. It's not the friend it claims to be, and it's always vulgarly misrepresented as Marx having said that religion was an opiate of the people, that it was a mere narcotic, a ruling class drug scam, which it's of course not. It's self-generating. And it comes, I think, not just from unhappiness or loneliness, or what was sometimes in that same discussion called alienation, but from a need that we would have, no matter what the material circumstances were, for, well, I would say the numinous would be one word, the transcendent would be another, the things that we know about without being able to quantify them, music, love, landscape for a lot of people, I think, different times of day, some combinations of all those things, the nocturne. I wouldn't trust anyone who was tone deaf on these things, but I think the great intellectual and in some ways cultural task is to satisfy hungers of this kind artistically and aesthetically without them becoming the pretext for superstition or empowering the supernatural or anyone who wants to build power on that. And I don't think it's too much to ask. There are many people, I mean, this building is in a way a testimony to it. It's not a cathedral exactly, but it's where people can come for music and for a sense of there being something higher and finer than the everyday. But it doesn't gratify any cult or any ambition that has supernatural, well, that exploits the supernatural for what are, unfortunately, rather crudely material purposes.
Marx thought he had the answer, but your appeal here to higher values and so on is interesting, and the question is whether it really will happen. I mean, and the question is whether we've gone from dialectical materialism to plain old materialism, and whether that's all that's going to be left when you take away or strip away religious thought.
Well, I was asked this question earlier on this visit. I'm asked it quite a lot. Say, you know, the alternative is the world of McDonald's and condoms and pointless tourism and pleasure-seeking and empty hedonism and so forth. I fail to see the force of this critique in two ways. One is, if you really look at the intestinal life of any religion, you'll find it's extremely earthy and materialistic. Are you going to really tell me that the Catholic Church lives on spirituality? Even just look at the outlines of its prelates. Just look at its finances. Look at it's pretty gross. Look at how the Islamic Republic of Iran actually conducts business. It's a racket. It's a shameful, obvious racket, which includes, by the way, dealing in things, profiting from things, like child prostitution and narcotics. Look at how the Taliban finances itself, these so-called ascetics and self-sacrificing suicidal visionaries. It's a crime family is what it is. That's the first thing. I've never met a church that isn't completely in and of the material world and wouldn't yield to that analysis. Second, and I tried a bit of this in my shorter address, if you don't think that contemplating, say, the work of Einstein or Edwin Hubble or Stephen Hawking doesn't have something of the transcendent and the numinous to it, then I feel sorry for you. It's almost, at some points, it's almost ecstatic what they're talking about. The sheer beauty of the natural world, what I call the awe-inspiring character of physics. This is really magnificent. It's marvelous. It deserves almost to be called miraculous. Who here knows what I mean by the event horizon? Well, I couldn't see you if you did, but and by the way, I don't really know either, but here's how Hawking he's such a brilliant writer about science, is how he describes it. So the event horizon is the lip of the black hole. It's the aperture itself. If you could travel to it in some way, and you could get to the edge of the black hole, get to the little black hole, you'd be at the event horizon. And if you could fall in, be pulled into it, you'd be able to see, in some way, the past as well as the future. Except, of course, you wouldn't have time. There's always something, but there's contemplate that for a bit. It's not McDonald's. And in fact, one of Hawking's friends says to him that if he himself were ever diagnosed with a terminal illness, and if he could arrange to go of his own volition, that's how he would want to do it. So no, it's the same as the people who say that other forms of totalitarianism, not explicitly theocratic, are secular. An argument that keeps on annoying me, and you'll probably want to return to it, but just for now I'd say, well, because I never don't get asked, but I just say, well, I'm on this particular aspect of it. To say, to have this argument fairly, you'd have to point to a society, not that had been Stalinized or Nazified or something of this sort, but that was based on the veneration of, respect for, study of Voltaire, Lucretius, Einstein, Galileo, Spinoza, possibly the greatest ethicist there ever was, Bertrand Russell, Thomas Jefferson, and so on. You'd have to find a society where those were these sort of, if you like, the moral and philosophical authorities, and see how that society had degenerated into slavery, cannibalism, starvation, purges, and witch hunts. And that experiment, alas, we have not yet run. But that's the one I would propose.
It's odd when I think about it. It's really odd, in fact, that I chose to do this as a devil's advocate interview. But let's leave that aside.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, I have to now. Yeah. I was asked by...
Oh, no.
It's an anecdote.
Not chapter 10.
No, it's an anecdote. I was asked... Oh, no, not chapter 10 again. Please, sir, not that. In case you don't know and haven't got the damn book yet, and I'm not sure it's not in there yet, but I was asked by the Vatican to testify against the sainthood nomination of Mother Teresa, against initially her beatification. And I said yes, of course. I was very honored to be asked. And yes, Your Holiness, the first time I've ever said that, and the last as well. So I went to testify, and I made a discovery that I thought I'd share with you. Everyone used to think they knew one thing about the Catholic Church, whether they were Catholics or not, that in sainthood arguments they have a devil's advocate, advocatus diaboli. And it was true until very recently. The last pope scrapped this office. The office doesn't exist any longer. It was partly so he could fast-track sainthood. He made more saints, the last pope did, than his 10 predecessors combined in double. So the advocatus diaboli office was shut down, no longer is there. So I had to testify just in a seminar room with a Monsignor and a deacon and a priest, and a tape recorder and a Bible. And I realized halfway through that I'd just become the first person in history to have represented the devil pro bono.
Okay.
Which is a distinction of a sort.
You took us into the realms of cosmology a short time ago.